Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Scoreboard, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons. And today we're going to be way too early season predictions. That's what I'm going to be doing today. But first off, we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on in the offseason as of late. It really dried up really quickly. I mean, we had a couple days that it was popping and popping and popping. Everybody was signing places, and now we're just waiting on restricted free agency. And now teams are being smarter. We're not seeing the Chicago Bulls giving $25 million to Patrick Williams. Like the teams are actually being very smart with their money, and it's prolonging the free agency, and it's getting us to the point where we are at now, where Mo Wagner signing a 1 year deal back to the Orlando Magic has been like the biggest news in the last couple of days. But first off, I mean, Jackson Hayes agrees to come back to the Los Angeles Lakers. Backup minutes is where I like Jackson Hayes a lot more than the starting lineup. When he gets minutes with Luka Doncic, he'll be able to prove his worth, be a lob threat, maybe catch a couple bodies, and play some rim protecting defense. At not a super high level, but for a backup center, it gives us some solid things to see for the Lakers. And now they're just waiting on to see what LeBron's going to do this offseason. If he's going to request a trade, I think all this talk of LeBron not liking his situation in Los Angeles, him and Austin Reeves saying they don't like playing next to Luka. A lot of false narratives, a lot of just talking to talk because it's the offseason and we don't have a lot to talk about. And I think the LeBron picking and choosing where he wants to do because the Lakers are supposedly setting themselves up for the 2027 offseason. You still have Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and DeAndre Ayton. You're going to be a championship contending team. Are you going to win the championship? We don't know right now. But that is a solid team that if you guys go on a run in the playoffs, if DeAndre Ayton plays into his role that he should be playing into, you're going to be looked at as a championship contending team because you have LeBron and Luka. Like it doesn't really matter what your surrounding pieces are. If you have both those guys, you're going to be looked at as a championship contending team. That's what they were looked at last year when they made the trade for Luka, even though they didn't even have a center. So we'll see what happens. I think this is a lot of LeBron trying to force the Lakers to make some moves this year so he can be in a final championship run for the final year of his career. If he does decide to move on from the Lakers, he kind of screwed himself over by accepting his player option. If he was really in the mindset of moving on from the Lakers, I would have pictured him not opting into his player option and then just picking and choosing where he wants to go. Because now, if a team trades for LeBron, like the Cleveland Cavaliers who have been linked to him, you have to give up like Darius Garland or DeAndre Hunter and Jared Allen and Sam Merrill. Like, you have to give up a solid core of your team that made you the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, the Mavericks are linked to him. Don't know how that's going to work out, them getting him. But LeBron next to his guys, Anthony Davis, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, and Cooper Flag would be a super fun team to watch. Interesting to see where it would go, but I don't think it's going to happen. LeBron's going to stay in Los Angeles for another year, in the final year of his career, and we'll see what happens going forward. Next, on July 4th, we saw Mo Wagner, like I said, sign a 1 year deal to return to the Orlando Magic. Just a solid move by them, solid move by himself. He was injured a lot last year, but his brother Franz is still on Orlando, has kind of built a home there. And yeah, he can really give them solid backup center minutes and maybe start from time to time. So I like what the Orlando Magic have done this offseason. You get Tyus Jones, bolsters up the bench. You trade for Desmond Bane, makes the offense a legitimate, like, you get a legitimate scorer next to Paulo and Franz. And the defense isn't super, like, it's not super lost by going and getting Desmond Bane. He's not an elite defender or a plus defender, but he's not a negative defender. Just from his big body and just the way he moves around on the court. Solid move by them. Then we saw a trade that I really like, which was Cam Whitmore to the Washington Wizards for 2 second round picks. I like this for both Cam Whitmore's sake in the fact that he probably him in the front office realized that he probably wasn't going to get a lot of playing time again this year, due in part to him not really buying into the defensive culture of Ime Udoka's team in Houston, and then the Wizards they get a guy that really hasn't proved himself in the NBA. But when he's shown signs, I mean, last year he averaged 10.8 points per game in the 2 seasons he was with the Houston Rockets. And yeah, I think Cam Whitmore could really be a solid bench piece, maybe even a starter on a solid team. It's more just can he get the chance? And Washington is a perfect opportunity for him. They do have a lot of young guys, and they have the older core as well that might take away some minutes from him. But you only give up 2 second round picks, and you get a guy that you can unlock his potential that we haven't really seen what his potential is in the NBA. Like the move by both Houston doing their guy well, get him to a situation where he can actually play. And Washington, they get a solid guy that can come in, play some rotational minutes, maybe prove his worth, and start for the Wizards in a couple of years, or just be a solid bench piece for them. Solid moves by both. Then we saw Memphis traded Jay Huff to the Indiana Pacers for 1 second round pick and a second round pick swap. Nothing really crazy. I mean, Jay Huff, if you know Jay Huff, you're a real NBA fan because Jay Huff is not a known player, Virginia guy. I believe he was at Virginia with DeAndre Hunter, yeah, and Ty Jerome. It's a fun team to watch when they were in college, but Jay Huff, nothing spectacular in the NBA. Hasn't really got a lot of solid playing time. So maybe in Indiana with having all these guys, Miles Turner leaving, James Wiseman still being injury prone, Isaiah Jackson missed a lot of last year. They didn't bring back Thomas Bryant. Maybe he'll get some solid minutes this year, and we'll actually see what J Huff can do to a solid team. Indiana, we'll get to my way too early season predictions, but Indiana, I really truly think they're going to have a very tough year this next year. And yeah, we'll talk about it in a little bit. But after that, we saw Jock Landale signed a deal with the Memphis Grizzlies, fills that hole that they just traded away with Jay Huff for. Jock Landale, super solid NBA player when he's played. In Phoenix, he was really good. And then Houston, he didn't really get a lot of playing time, but when he was on the court, he was pretty solid. Memphis, again, I don't think he's really going to get a lot of playing time, but hopefully, and this is more just a move to ensure you have bench depth, having guys that are injury prone, like Zach Edey, like Marvin Bagley, and like Jaren Jackson Jr. Then we saw the official Kevin Durant trade was made official and everything was locked up. 7 team trade, which felt very, very unneeded. But got to get all these moves and monies to match. So we're going to see this a lot more, I feel like, with the CBA. And yeah, it, it just felt like it was very unneeded. Like, I feel like, who was it? Like, Brooklyn got like a second round pick or something like that, and they were just kind of thrown into the deal for no reason, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I like the move. Kevin Durant officially a Houston Rocket, and Jalen Green officially a Phoenix Sun. Like both the opportunities for both those guys. Jalen Green finally going to a position where he's not going to be looked at as the number one guy, who I don't think he is a number one guy in the NBA. His whole career, he's always been a number one guy, no matter where he's gone, high school, college, and then his first couple years in the NBA. That's just not Jalen Green if he wants to win anything in the NBA, in my opinion. But Seeing him next to Devin Booker, we're going to see a new role for him. Hopefully, he can buy into that role, and him and Devin Booker won't have any disagreement. The Suns, like I said, going to get into the standing, my way too early predictions, but Phoenix is also going to struggle next year, so we'll see if Jalen Green does end up on the Phoenix Suns by the end of next year. Then got some talks of Jonas Valanciunas maybe moving on from the NBA and going to Greece to play for Panathinaikos or however you pronounce that name. But yeah, I mean, they made that super solid move by the Kings, only a 1-for-1 trade and getting Dario Saric. Don't really want to see Jonas leave the Denver Nuggets, but I understand from him wants to be closer to his family, wants to live the last couple years of his basketball career kind of being the guy. He doesn't want to be on a backup role, which I understand, but also from an NBA fan perspective, I want to see him in Denver because all Nikola Jokic's prime career that we've seen where he's dominating, the Nuggets have struggled so much when Nikola Jokic isn't on the court because they haven't ever had a true backup center. And Jonas Valanciunas can be that backup center for them, and it'd be the first time we've ever seen it. But it's up to him at the end of the day, and we'll see what happens in the next coming weeks. Ryan Rollins agreed on a 3-year, $12 million deal to return to the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, just another mid move in the offseason right now. Ryan Rollins, he's all right. He's nothing crazy to expect from him. Averaged 6 points per game last year, 2 rebounds, 2 assists in 56 games, and he started 19 for Milwaukee last year. He's gonna be the backup point guard behind Kevin Porter Jr. next year. Um, I'm just not super thrilled about the move. Nothing's really making me feel like, oh yeah, this is locking Milwaukee up for a while. And happy to see Ryan Rollins get a little bit of a paycheck, get a home in Milwaukee, but again, nothing crazy here with this move. Then we finally did see a kind of big move since the final couple of days of the true start of the free agency. We saw that LA Clippers, Utah Jazz, and Miami Heat agreed to a trade that sent Norman Powell to Miami, John Collins to Los Angeles, and Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson and a 2027 second round pick to the Utah Jazz. I love this move for pretty much everybody involved. The Clippers, Norman Powell had an amazing year last year, but he is 32. And can you expect him to have another year like that again? I don't think so. And the Clippers didn't think so, so they moved on from him. They don't want to sign him to a huge extension when he's eligible for it. And they get a younger player in John Collins, who the Utah Jazz came out and said we have to trade away John Collins because he's helping us win too many games. And I like the fit for John Collins more than I like the fit of Norman Powell on the Los Angeles Clippers. John Collins, obviously a lob threat. You have one of the best lob throwers in the league in James Harden. If he can shoot the three ball pretty solidly, this team is going to be very strong. Last year, he shot the three ball at 40% on 3.5 shots per game. So solid. And honestly, I think him being next to James Harden, getting so much more easy looks, the best version of John Collins we saw was next to Trae Young, and James Harden is equivalent of Trae Young, maybe a better passer than Trae Young. But yeah, like the move by them. Miami, they finally get a guy that they're always star hunting, and I'm not gonna say Norman Powell's a star, but they make a move to ensure that they are not just running out the same team from last year. I don't really like the fit of Norman Powell and Tyler Hero in the backcourt. So such a small backcourt and no defensive upside there. Um, And yeah, for the Jazz, I mean, you get a second round pick for John Collins and you get off his contract, which is even more important. And you get a solid vet piece in Kyle Anderson. I mean, Kevin Love's probably going to get bought out and go team up wherever LeBron goes, is what I'm expecting. Um, but yeah, I like the Utah Jazz. They were John Collins was winning us too many games, so we had to sit him out for 40 games this year. And Kevin Love's reaction to getting traded, saying, "I never thought I would be a part of a math problem." Again, shows that there are people at the end of the day, and yeah, just happy to see John Collins get to a situation where he's going to be playing meaningful, winning basketball, and then Norman Powell gets to show us all if he's actually truly that 24 point per game scorer, 22 point per game scorer last year. He's going to be able to prove to us in Miami because he's going to get a ton of looks, ton of shots, and we're going to see if he is truly that guy that we can expect for the next couple of years. Then the it was officially announced that Portland and Boston agreed to the trade. Drew Holiday to the Portland Trailblazers and Anthony Simons to the Boston Celtics. But due to a weird physical, kind of like the Mark Williams one, they agreed to a new trade, which only was a 1-for-1, no second round picks at all in this trade. So Drew Holiday just straight up for Anthony Simons, no second round picks or anything. And we'll see where Drew Holiday goes after that. He's not very thrilled to be in Portland and don't really want to see him in Portland. I want to see him playing on a meaningful team, playing some meaningful basketball for the last couple of years of his career. And Portland, I don't think they really want him. Don't really want to take away minutes from a lot of their younger guards if a guy's not going to be there for a long time. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks with Drew Holiday or at the trade deadline with Drew Holiday. Then we saw Kyle Lowry agreed on a 1 year deal to return to the Philadelphia 76ers. I think Philly's going to be really solid this coming year. Expect big things from all their younger guards, and if Joel Embiid is going to be solid, and if Paul George can have a bounce back year, this team is going to be super strong next year. And we'll get to the my season predictions in a couple minutes, but yeah, I think getting Kyle Lowry back again, solid vet piece, really good leader, and he's been through a lot of situations that any young guy can look up to him. And Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, and VJ Edgecombe. All those guys are going to look up to Kyle Lowry at the point guard position, and we'll see what happens there. Then we saw Orlando lock up their guy. Paolo Banchero agreed on a 5 year maximum rookie extension that could reach up to $287 million. Gotta lock your guy up if you're Orlando. Paolo, one of the blooming stars that you can expect big things from in the next couple of years, leading this Orlando Magic team back to back years to the playoffs. Nothing really coming from it, but love Paolo, love his fit in Orlando, and I don't want to see him as one of those Orlando Magic stars that goes away after a couple of years. So locking their guy up, proving to them and proving to him that we are going to be able to build a strong team around you and we're going to be competing for the next couple of years. Love to see that for the Orlando Magic at Paolo Banchero. And yeah, the first deal that includes a player option since the Luka Doncic and Trae Young rookie extensions in 2021. So shows the elite company and the elite play style and elite athlete that Paolo Banchero is when he's put up in Luka Doncic and Trae Young status. Now, from the past 2 days, yesterday or 2 days ago, we saw Nikola Jokic will not sign his contract extension this offseason. He's going to wait until next offseason. I'm not super like I don't think anybody should really be like going deep diving into this for why Nikola Jokic isn't doing it. I just genuinely think he wants to wait out another year, see if he can get even more money on his contract. But I don't see Nikola Jokic as a guy that's going to just up and leave Denver. Like I just genuinely don't think that's going to happen. Um, and I just think he's got other things going on this summer. He wants to focus on those, and he'll sign his extension when he wants to sign his extension. You're not going to push him to sign his extension. Then we saw the Washington Wizards are trading Kelly Olynyk to the San Antonio Spurs for Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley. Again, young, another two young pieces that Washington is bringing in, trading away Kelly Olynyk, like his fit in San Antonio, being able to play the backup four and sometimes backup five position for them. Like what the Spurs are doing, man. Kelly Olynyk's gonna fit perfectly next to Luke Cornett in that front court. He stretches the floor a lot. He's pretty skilled for a 4 or 5 man, and yeah, can shoot the three ball. And he's gonna make the job much easier for Dylan Harper being able to spread the floor. Dylan Harper's gonna be able to get downhill, and the screen setting of Luke Cornett is going to be huge. Like I really liked Luke Cornett's press conference where they were like, "Why'd you pick number 7 to wear here in San Antonio? Like you never won 7 in your career." And he's like, "I want to be 1/3 of the player that Tim Duncan was." So that's who the Spurs got. Like his confidence, like what he is expecting of himself, and yeah, I think San Antonio is going to have an amazing year next year. I'm excited to see them, and we'll talk about where I have them finishing next year. Then we saw Chet Holmgren has agreed on his 5-year rookie max contract, that could reach up to $250 million. Again, Thunder, you got to lock up your guy Chet Holmgren, and yeah, a lot of money that they thrown around these past 2 weeks with Shea and Chet. And shout out to Shea, man. $72 million a year, NBA champion, Finals MVP, uh, scoring title, and now the cover of NBA 2K26. What a year for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, man. It's been a crazy year for him. And uh, signature shoe, just, man, he's been killing it this year. And he deserves all the love and praise that he's got. And we'll see if he can keep it up next year and see if this Oklahoma City dynasty is true and if they can continue to win at a high level for the next couple of years. Now, some other things before we get into the uh, season predictions. Just gonna talk a little bit about the summer league so far. Haven't been super locked into it because I'm waiting for them to get to um, Vegas, which starts today, which I'm super excited to watch. First game today is Pelicans versus Timberwolves, so we're gonna see uh, who did the Timberwolves draft? Juan Barringer, uh, Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen. Like, super excited to see that. Orlando versus Sacramento. Excited to see Jace Richardson versus Nick Clifford and Maxime Renaud. Uh, but yeah, so far right now in the Summer League, VJ Edgecombe was killing it in his first ever game. I think he had, what was it, 28 points on super efficient shooting. Yeah, 13 for 27, 28 points, 10 rebounds for VJ in his first um, Summer League game. Super fun to watch him. Ace kind of struggled in his first game, but he bounced back in his second game and had 18 points. He was throwing the hammer down, I'm not gonna lie, in a couple of those games, or in that game. Bryce Sensabaugh, who I've been super high on Bryce Sensabaugh. I think he's gonna have a breakout year next year for Utah if he can get the minutes, which is going to be tough. 37 points against the Grizzlies. 9 for 14 shooting, 6 for 9 from the 3-point line, 13 for 14 from the free throw line. He was just killing it all game. And for the Summer League, I don't understand. Now, I don't remember if this is just Salt Lake City and the California Classic, if they allow 10 fouls a game per player. But if it is throughout Summer League, I don't like that. I want these players to be playing like it's an actual NBA game. We shouldn't be adding them, allowing them to have 10 fouls in a game. Keep it to the six max. If they foul out, they foul out. That's the thing. Like, you have to learn to play defense without fouling against guys that aren't even locks to be playing in the NBA. Some of these guys that are playing in the Summer League might not even be starting for G League teams, or like, this is what you have to expect. And if you can't guard them without fouling, you're not going to be able to guard NBA starters and NBA bench players without fouling in this your first year. So I think that's kind of a thing that they should tweak, because you got guys like getting 10 fouls in a game, and it slows down the summer league game even more than you expect from like a NBA game where you're watching guys that routinely shoot free throws. Like, these games are taking a while because you're allowing 10 fouls in a game. So that's my only critique of summer league. But like what I saw from Nikola Topic, he's been really solid. Struggled to shoot the ball in one of his games. Khalil Ware has also been really strong in the two games I saw him play. David Jones Garcia, watch out for that man at the Las Vegas Summer League this year for the San Antonio Spurs. Obviously, we didn't see Dylan Harper yet. Carter Bryant looked all right in his first two games. And yeah, Dalton Connect looked really good. He had like a 13-point fourth quarter or something like that the other day. He's killing it. And yeah, that's what I got for Summer League so far. I'll be more locked in once the actual Summer League begins, especially with the Sacramento Kings. Want to see what Nick Clifford and Maxime Renaud are going to do. I believe, let me check who else is on this Kings Summer League roster. I saw that Sharif Abdur-Rahim's son will be on the Summer League roster, which is going to be super fun to watch. Didn't know he was a part of anything with the Sacramento Kings. Devin Carter will also be playing in the Summer League. Excited to see what he's going to be able to do. Isaiah Crawford, Isaac Jones, two guys that I'm also excited to watch, see what they're going to do. Isaac Jones had some solid minutes with the Kings when I saw him play. Mason Jones won our G League conference finals MVP. Like what I saw from him in the G League this past year. And yeah, we got a solid team. Dylan Cardwell out of Auburn. Want to see what he's going to be able to do. Don't really expect much, but yeah, excited to see what the Sacramento Kings will do in the Summer League. Obviously, nothing will top the 2022 Sacramento Kings Summer League team with Queta. Love my boy Namias Queta. And who else? Keon Ellis, Keegan Murray, and Alex O'Connell, I believe was his name. He was killing it that year for us. But yeah, that's what I got for the Summer League. That's what I got for free agency. And now we are going to jump in to my predictions for this the East and the Western Conference. I don't have records with the teams. I just have where I think they're going to finish in the standings. And yeah, we're gonna start with the Eastern Conference, and we're gonna work our way up. Um, 15th, I got Brooklyn. They're going to be rebuilding. They have so many young pieces and not a lot of winning pieces. They want to be bad. They want to tank for the first overall pick. That's what I expect they're going to do. And I think Cam Thomas may be on the chopping block. MPJ, Cam Thomas, don't really think of them as winning players, guys that are going to propel your team. They'll get a couple wins, but I think they're going to sit at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. 14th, I have Charlotte. Now, Charlotte, I like their draft. I like Liam McNeely. I like Con Knipple. I like their core they have of young guys. I just don't think their core of young guys equates to winning basketball. It's sad to see because I'm a big LaMelo Ball fan. Not a huge LaMelo Ball fan, but I think he's a solid NBA player. I just don't think he could be the best player on your team. Brandon Miller, another really solid guy that I like. I just don't think they're going to be able to stay healthy. And now this is also me saying this as them all being healthy throughout the whole year, what I expect. But Charlotte, I don't think they're going to be able to equate to a lot of winning basketball this year. And yeah, I think they're just going to sit at the bottom of the Eastern Conference again. And maybe they'll make some moves at the trade deadline, and we'll see what happens. 13th, I have Miami. I like Tyler Hero. I like Bam. They get Norman Powell. I love Davion Mitchell. I just don't expect much from this team. I think a lot of the teams below them got better, and they haven't got better than the teams that are falling in the Eastern Conference. But yeah, Miami, it's going to be another rough year there. But with Miami, you can always expect competitive basketball, which I'm expecting from Miami. From the 13th seed all the way up in the Eastern Conference, I expect competitive basketball. Charlotte and Brooklyn, I think they're going to be in a lot of blowout games. So, Miami, excited to see what Davion Mitchell's going to do. Excited to see a jump from Khalil Ware, but I'm not expecting too much from Miami. 12, kind of a surprising team to many people, but I really like the core of this team. Washington Wizards. The 12th seed, I have Washington Wizards. I really like Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, Trey Johnson, their first round pick, their lottery pick this in this past draft, Will Riley, and they just added a bunch of young guys. And then they have solid vets that are going to win them games. Marcus Smart, CJ McCollum, and Chris Middleton all equal winning basketball, in my opinion. And then you have such young pieces around them. I'm expecting big things from Trey Johnson in his rookie year. I'm expecting Alex Sarr to make a jump. And yeah, I just really like the core of Washington. I think they're going to be a very competitive team this year. And I think they're going to be one of the better teams to watch this coming year. Now, I'm going to say all this. This is the way too early predictions, but I'm going to say all this, and they're going to be at the bottom of the Eastern Conference again. But right now, with their roster right now, I really like them, and I'm excited to watch the Washington Wizards in this next coming year. But yeah, the 11th seed, I have the Chicago Bulls. Now, kind of a weird team. Josh Giddey had a really good year last year, but they were the 10th seed in the Eastern Conference, barely making the play-in. If Toronto didn't get injured down the stretch of the year, Toronto probably would have been the 10th seed. But Chicago, I'm not expecting Josh Giddey to play at the level that he did last year. And there's talks Kobe White might be on the move. Ayo Dosunmu might be on the move. So I'm not expecting this team to look like the same team from last year by the end of the year. I think Modest Buzelis could have a really solid year this coming year, but I don't think that's going to propel them to the play-in. So I got Chicago just outside the play-in, but looking in. 10, I got Indiana. I think Indiana's really going to struggle this coming year with Tyrese Haliburton not being there and losing Miles Turner. And I think there's a chance that they're really bad at the trade deadline, and Pascal Siakam is questioning whether he should be in Indiana, and there might be a move at the trade deadline for where we see Pascal Siakam on a different team by the end of the year. Ninth, I got Toronto. Now, Toronto is a polarizing team. They don't have a lot, but they have a lot, is something that I equate to the Toronto Raptors. Um, but the core they have is so strong that I just don't know if they fit entirely together. They're going to struggle a lot, I believe. But when they're hot and when they are connected, this team is going to be very difficult to beat. And they were super competitive last year. Darko, an amazing head coach. I hope he continues to keep his job in Toronto. But yeah, I'm not sure how well um, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, and Emmanuel quickly fit together. But the upside of them in their talent, I think, can propel them into the play in. and they might be able to win a game or two and squeak into the playoffs this coming year if they get hot. Then 8, I have Boston. Everybody is overreacting to the Jason Tatum and them having to dismantle this team. Boston is still a really strong team if Jason Tatum's not there and they trade away Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. They still have Derek White. They just got Anthony Simons. They're getting Jaylen Brown. They're going to have their core of three-point shooting at all levels. The only position I'm really scared of is is the center position because right now Al Horford not coming back to the team super quickly, kind of questioning where he's going to be is making me think that front court is going to be really, really weak for a while. George Niang's probably going to be in the starting lineup. If Al Horford does resign, he's going to be the starting center, but Al Horford at 38, 39, 40 is not the center that you need to push yourself out of the play-in. But I think I'm excited to see what Jaylen Brown's going to do, looking at as a number one option for a whole year. And I think Joe Mazzulla ball will still be a thing. They're going to jack up probably the most threes in the league, and we'll see what that equates to. If they get hot, this team could be alive. But if their three-point shooting is not anywhere near mid, if it's below mid, this team could look at as being the 10, maybe even out of the play-in. 7, I got Detroit. Now, Detroit, amazing year last year. Love Detroit. I think people thinking they're going to take another step, I don't think is entirely what I expect from them. I expect them to be around the same tier they were last year. Another year of Cade Cunningham getting better, Asar Thompson getting better, but I just don't know. Maybe losing Malik Beasley is going to be a huge loss. You get Duncan Robinson, you get Karis LeVert. I like the team. They're going to be super competitive. They're going to be a lock for the playoffs, in my opinion, even if they are in the play-in. They're going to be like Orlando from this past year and then 2 years ago. And I think Detroit still going to bring a lot of energy into the playoffs. They're going to be another fun team to watch. I just think some of the teams below them got a little bit better and some teams above them got better. So they kind of stay in that, or some teams above them got worse. So they kind of stay in that same tier. And I think they're going to have a fight to be out of the play-in with no the 6th seed, which I have as the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I'm high on them becoming what they should be with Tyrese Maxey at full strength, with Jared McCain at full strength, with Paul George having a bounce back year, and Joel Embiid having a bounce back year and being healthy. I think it's just going to take a while for them to gel together because we didn't see a lot of them this past year. But I'm excited to see them when they're at full strength and when they're hitting their shots. VJ Edgecombe coming off the bench. Still waiting to see what they're going to do with Quentin Grimes. They do lose Yabusele. But yeah, this is still a really strong team. Uh, I mean, they have an MVP candidate and arguably a Rookie of the Year candidate. So this team is going to be fun to watch. Philly basketball is going to be back next year for better or for worse, uh, depending on what fandom you have. But I think they're going to be super solid and they're going to propel themselves out of the play and be a lock for the playoffs. 5, I have the Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic. Excited to see what they're going to look like this coming year with Desmond Bane next to Franz and Paolo. That defensive identity is still going to be there. They're going to have one of the better defensive units in the league. And yeah, the offense is just going to get better. Hopefully they can stay healthy. That's one of the things. I mean, they were still the 7th seed and they had the best defense last year with a lot of their stars and key contributors missing a ton of time last year. So if they're fully healthy, expect big things from the Orlando Magic, and they're going to give a lot of teams a run for their money in the playoffs. Now, number four, I have the Atlanta Hawks. Defensive identity just completely changed. They just got so much better on the defensive end. You bring in a all-star caliber um, center in Kristaps Porzingis. If he plays all year, you're going to be looked at as even higher than the four seed. I'm expecting them to have some growing pains a little bit, but dark horse MVP could definitely be Trae Young this coming year. And yeah, excited to see Jalen Johnson back on the court. Excited to see Zachary Ricochet take a step forward, and then you bring in Nikhil Alexander Walker and Luke Kennard, and then you still have Dyson Daniels. Really solid team. Excited to see what they're going to do this coming year. Three, I have a team that might be kind of surprising for some teams, some people. I have the Milwaukee Bucks jumping to the third seed. I'm expecting a huge year from Giannis Antetokounmpo. MVP talks even stronger than he was last year. And I think he's genuinely going to be my pick for the MVP this coming year. Think just what he's going to be playing through, seeing if he wants to stay in Milwaukee, if Milwaukee's going to be able to put a compatible and comparable team around Giannis. I just think he's really going to propel this Milwaukee Bucks team. But also, I want to highlight that I think from the three seed, which is Milwaukee, Atlanta, Orlando, Philly, and Detroit, I think all of those guys are going to be really close to each other. I think the only two teams that are locked um, is New York and Cleveland. I think they're going to kind of run the Eastern Conference a little bit. They're going to be at the top, kind of battling with themselves, but they have a gap between them and the three seed. But the 3 to 7 seed, I think, is going to look just like it looked last year with a lot of teams being super close to each other. But yeah, Milwaukee, I'm expecting Giannis to have an MVP caliber season, and we'll see Kyle Kuzma if he can kind of have a bounce back year from his or finally show his worth in Milwaukee after trading away Chris Middleton. But yeah, excited to see what Milwaukee's going to do. Excited to see what Giannis is going to do. He's going to have an incredible year next year. Number two, I have the New York Knicks. I Mike Brown. They get Mike Brown. That offense is going. He's going to unlock that offense to new heights. Excited to see what he's going to do with them. Jalen Brunson expecting another huge year from him. Cat another huge year, and their bench unit got better. Yabusele, Jordan Clarkson, and then you still got Deuce McBride, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson. Just probably one of the better, most well-rounded teams in the league. I just think they might take a step back on the defensive end, with having a more offensive-minded coach in Mike Brown, but still, they're going to be the one of probably the best team in the Eastern Conference, and arguably the team that you would least like to see in the playoffs. Then number one, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Basically running back the same team from last year, just minus Ty Jerome, but add Lonzo Ball. Again, 2 straight years where they were at the top of the Eastern Conference. I think it's going to be a third straight year. And hopefully, Evan Mobley can get past shooting more than 13 shots a game. Um, but yeah, I think Cleveland and New York is really going to fight for that number one seed. And I think they're going to be super close. But I just think Cleveland's going to take it over, having some more bodies on the back end that they can throw around. And I think, in my opinion, if Evan Mobley takes another step forward, they could have the best player on the court in Evan Mobley. It's kind of a toss up for me between Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson because they're so skilled and do a little bit more in each category than each other. But yeah, that's the Eastern Conference. So number one seed, I got the Cleveland Cavaliers. Two, I got the Knicks. Three, Milwaukee. Four, Atlanta. Five, Orlando. Six, Philly. Seven, Detroit. Eight, Boston. Nine, Toronto. 10, Indiana. 11, Chicago. 12th, Washington. 13th, Miami. 14th, Charlotte. And 15th, the Brooklyn Nets. Now, moving on to the Western Conference. At the 15th seed in the bottom of the Western Conference, I have the Utah Jazz. I'm not expecting Lauri Markkanen to be on this team by the end of next year. Um, I like their young core, just don't think they're ready to win more than 20 games this year. And I think all the teams above them are going to win more than 20 games. Utah, just think they're still in their rebuild. They're gonna have another year of rebuilding, and yeah, maybe AJ DeBonsa ends up in Utah in the next NBA lottery. Going to BYU, he'd fit perfectly in the Utah Jazz jersey, and he won't have to go far from BYU. 14, I got the Phoenix Suns. They're going to struggle incredibly this coming year, in my opinion. It's a toss up between them and New Orleans at the 14th, 13th seed. I just think Phoenix. I don't think Jalen Green's gonna mesh very well with Devin Booker. Excited to see what he's gonna do. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Um, Mark Williams, not expecting much from him. Again, you have two guys that aren't known as lob throwers, and you're just getting a guy that doesn't really give you a lot on the offensive end other than a lob threat. Uh, like some of their young pieces, I just think Phoenix is really going to struggle. Devin Booker is going to be back in his um back to where he was prior to Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, and we'll see what Devin Booker does after next year if he decides to move on from the Phoenix Suns. 13, I got the New Orleans Pelicans. Now I think this could go two ways. I think they could either be the worst team in the Western Conference, or they could push for the 10th seed if they're healthy all year. It's kind of a toss up, like entirely. I just am expecting a middle of the pack. I think they're going to move on from a lot of their guys by the trade deadline. I mean, they were talking about having a fire sale this offseason. Not a lot of movements. Only CJ McCollum is gone. Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen want to see what they're gonna do, but I mean Jordan Poole and Zion as your two best players most likely is not going to equate to winning basketball, especially when one of those guys cannot stay on the court. But hopefully Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, some of the other New Orleans Pelicans can be moved by the trade deadline. 12, it pains me to say, I think we're going to be out of the play-in, and I have the Sacramento Kings at the 12th seed. I just don't think we're going to be a winning team. Now, I think from the 12th seed to the 8th seed with Golden State, where I have them, I think it's going to be super close, and it really depends on who gets hot by the end of the season or who has an easier schedule. I just don't think Sacramento is really going to make a push or anything. I'm not expecting too much from this team. I want to see what some of these young guys are going to do, but I'm hopefully saying that by us having the 12 seed, we will move on from our core and go in a different direction. This direction that we are in with Sabonis, DeMar, and Zach LaVine is only going to equate to mediocre basketball. We're not going to ever compete for anything, but we're never going to be the worst team in the league to tank. So hopefully this coming year will push us in a direction that we need to go in, which is probably a rebuild. Um, at the 11th seed, I got Portland. I was super high on them last year, was hoping that they were going to make the play in last year. I think they're going to have another year of what they did last year. Moving on from Anthony Simons, kind of their veteran leader, I guess you would say. But I think they're going to be super close to the play, and I just think they might squeak out of it. And yeah, excited to see what Donovan Clinton is going to do in a whole year of him probably being a starter. Maybe we'll get some Hanson Yang minutes. Hopefully, Scoot Anderson can make a jump this year that we haven't really seen as of so far in his NBA career. And yeah, Shaden Sharp, hopefully he can have a more of a bounce back year last year. This past season, he kind of struggled a little bit when he came back from his injury, but was getting closer and closer to what we expect from Shaden Sharp. But yeah, I think Portland's just going to barely miss the play in because I have the number 10 seed. I have the Memphis Grizzlies. Um, Moving on from Desmond Bain, obviously is going to be a big hit. Jaren Jackson Jr. just signed that huge contract extension. I think it's going to kind of blow up in Memphis's face. Ja Morant could then be on the trade block again next year, and maybe even by the play-in, or not the play-in, but the trade deadline. I just don't expect too much from the Memphis Grizzlies. I like Jalen Wells and Cedric Howard being able to have really solid minutes this year, but don't expect much from Memphis this year. I don't think they're going to be a team that we're looking at as a powerhouse in the Western Conference, and we're going to see more and more clips of the John Morant saying we're fine in the West, and yeah, that's what I'm expecting from the Memphis Grizzlies. Number nine, I got my favorite, what I'm expecting to be my favorite team to watch this coming year, which is the San Antonio Spurs at the 9 seed. Victor Wembanyama coming back. Hopefully, he's going to be at full strength, straight up off the start of the jump of the year. Excited to see what my boy De'Aaron Fox is going to do. Hopefully, he can be in winning basketball day in and day out. And I mean, they're going to have growing pains with some of these young guys. I mean, Castle's still really young. Jeremy Sohan's still really young. And yeah, but I think they're going to be that young team that has growing pains, but their growing pains are going to prepare them for later on in the season. So San Antonio at the 9 seed, they're going to be a team to watch out for um, when it comes to the play-in and playoff tie. 8, I have Golden State. When your three best players are 35 plus years old, it's going to be really tough for you to be at the top of the Western Conference when some of the teams that I have at the top are kind of young. Um, I just not expecting too much. I'm expecting a good year from Stephen Curry. Jimmy Butler's going to show flashes. They're just going to have to get carried all through a portion of the year with some of their young guys, like Kaminga if he decides to come back. Um, Pozensky, all those guys are really going to have to put the team on their back for a while, and they're going to have some pains, and they're going to struggle, I think, for a majority of this year. Now, 7, I have the Los Angeles Lakers. Um, Still building off what they were doing last year. I just think they're going to be in that mix of teams that are really fighting for the last year in the Western Conference. Let me pull it up. The standings last year in the Western Conference from the 3 seed, which was the Los Angeles Lakers, to the 8 seed, which was the Memphis Grizzlies, was a 2-game difference. I am expecting the same exact thing again this year. So I have Los Angeles. I just think some of the teams above them are going to outpace them by the end of the year, having LeBron on kind of his last legs of his NBA career. I think he's going to miss some time by the end of the year. Not saying he's going to be injured or anything, but I think we're going to see him kind of lacking in some areas of the game. So then 6, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards is going to have another phenomenal year. Um, Excited to see if Rob Dillingham can become a really solid NBA player for them. Keep Dante, Terrence Shannon Jr. I think could fill the void of Nickeil Alexander leaving. You still keep Julius Randle and you keep Naz Reid, and you still have a guy that could be a defensive player again this year, defensive player of the year this year, which is Rudy Gobert. Solid team. I think they're really going to be a strong team throughout the year. 5, I have the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I think the first half of the year, they're going to be kind of in a little bit lower of a position, but once Kyrie comes back, and if he comes back fully at full strength, this team is going to be probably the best team and the hottest team going into the playoffs. But if that doesn't even happen, I still think having D'Lo as your bridge point guard can keep you alive. And yeah, I think Dallas at the 5 seed makes a lot of sense. And I think they're going to be that 5 seed that we look at as this is a 5 seed that can genuinely win the NBA championship going into the playoffs. At the 4 seed, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. Hopefully, Kawhi Leonard can stay healthy all year long. That's one of the biggest ifs. But if he is healthy all year long, I genuinely think this is one of the best teams in the Western Conference. James Harden still playing at a super high level. Maybe expect him to take a little bit of a step back from last year, but they add John Collins. I'm expecting a little bit more of a better year from Derrick Jones Jr. I think getting a true backup center in Brook Lopez is really strong for them. So really like what the Clippers did this offseason, and it just entirely makes it a little bit better. Bradley Beal is a potential landing spot in Los Angeles if he does get bought out by the Phoenix Suns. Chris Paul has been linked to the Clippers. So even if they do run out this team or if they do bring those guys in, they're still going to be looked at as a top four seed in the Western Conference, in my opinion. Then three, I have the Houston Rockets. Obviously, the two seed last year without Kevin Durant. You add Kevin Durant and you fall to the three seed. My only thinking is the team I have below them that jump, or the team I have above them that jumped them is the Denver Nuggets. I'm expecting another MVP level year from Nikola Jokic, and if Jonas Valanciunas stays in Denver and doesn't decide to leave for Greece, this team is going to be super strong, whatever lineup they're running out there. Houston, I think in the games KD is going to miss due to rest, they're going to struggle a lot because they're going to be reliant on Kevin Durant in the clutch to score them a majority of their buckets. But the defensive core of Houston, even if KD does miss some time, is going to keep them at the top three seed. Um, and yeah, I just really like Houston. Ime Udoka, I think, is going to be in another Coach of the Year conversation, but I think Denver's just going to jump them a little bit, in my opinion. I just think Nikola Jokic is going to be the MVP next year, and I think he's going to have an even better year than he just did, which is saying a lot. And if he does have that year that I'm expecting from him, there's no way he's not lower than the three seed. And then number one in the Western Conference, obviously simple, easy. I got OKC running the Western Conference again, and it's I just think it's really tough to pick against OKC to be the number one seed when they've done it 2 years in a row and they dominated the league last year. Now, them winning the championship, being the one of the youngest teams to ever do it, they're going to have a target on their back. But I think they're prepared to fend off that target and fight back when they need to. So I think OKC is really going to be super strong again next year. And I think this NBA championship was really the start of their dynasty. So for the Western Conference, I have OKC at the one seed, two Denver, three Houston, four Clippers, five Dallas, six Minnesota, seven the Lakers, Golden State at the eight seed, nine San Antonio, 10 Memphis, 11 Portland, 12 Sacramento, 13 New Orleans, 14 Phoenix, and 15 the Utah Jazz. That was my way too early season predictions and standings predictions by the end of the year. Now, all this was a prediction. I'm not going to be 100% right. I'm not going to say I'm going to be 100% right. And this is the way too early one. The offseason is not even over. So, in a day or in an hour, we might see that. And I'm trying to think of somebody. Um, LeBron James is on the Dallas Mavericks, then I'm gonna definitely put them at the 2+ seed, and I'm gonna drop the Lakers a little bit. So all the prediction, all this is just for fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Beyond the Scoreboard, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons.